Bartholomew Players of Ensham, Oxfordshire present Interview Terminated by Rachel Feeney Williams.
There you are, Kelly. No milk. 3 sugars, wasn't it?
Yeah. Tar?
Sorry it took so long. Machine is on the blink again, so I had to make it fresh. Hope it's not too strong.
Don't worry. I like it strong. Perfect.
It'll rot your brain, you know, all that caffeine and sugar.
Oh, don't tell me. You're a weak tea kind of man.
Nothing wrong with tea.
Depends on what you're into, I suppose.
And what is that supposed to mean?
Nothing. Blimey, what bug crawled up your arse?
That's enough of that, thank you.
D.I. Bourne isn't exactly a morning person.
Thank you, D.S. Williams. I can speak for myself.
Sorry, Gov.
Right, let's get the show on the road, shall we? This is Detective Inspector Bourne of the London Metropolitan Police conducting an interview of Kelly Dustin on Wednesday 14th of March 2017 at 7:34 a.m. With me is Detective Sergeant Williams. Now, Kelly, you know you can have a solicitor present while we talk, don't you?
I don't need a solicitor. I shouldn't even be here.
So, do you know why you're here?
Old Mrs. McElroy called you, didn't she? Nosy cow, always interfering. I told her, it's all fine.
But it's not though, is it, Kelly?
What?
Fine.
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, I think you do.
Look, I fell asleep with the TV on a bit loud, that's all. There was some action thing on. That's what she must have heard.
Do that often, do you?
What?
Fall asleep with the TV on loud?
Sometimes.
You must be a heavy sleeper. I can't even sleep with my old clock ticking away. Had to get a new one, all digital now. Of course, now I can't get the blooming thing programmed properly, so I keep getting alarms at 4 in the morning.
Oh, fascinating. Is there a point to this?
I'm just pointing out you must be a heavy sleeper to sleep through all that row the TV was making.
Yeah, I am. Sleep like a dead me.
Even with the little one? Blimey, what I'd give to sleep like that.
What?
Well, I remember when I had my Lacey, she was forever keeping me up. Even after I came back to work, she never slept well. I was a nightmare, wasn't I, Gov?
Falling asleep at your desk a lot, I'll say that.
But you, being able to sleep through all that noise from the TV, must make your nights with the little one lovely and peaceful.
I don't have a baby.
No.
Oh, I think I'd remember.
Well, that's not what your mother said.
Mum's confused. She's getting on a bit in life. Sometimes she doesn't know what she means.
So why don't you explain it to us, Kelly?
Sarah, that's my older sister.
That's Sarah Lawson.
Yes.
That's our Sarah. Well, she and her husband had a baby, not me.
So, your sister had a baby, not you.
Yeah, Mum must have gotten confused, that's all.
Do you think we're idiots, Kelly?
You are?
I mean, do you think that D.S. Williams and I are just 2 idiots who've been doing this job for 5 minutes?
No, I mean, why would you?
Because if you were assuming that, then we'd just have to say, being the 2 idiots, that you are responsible for disturbing the peace by having your television too loud, and then we'd have to arrest you.
You what?
Well, that's what you're telling us it is.
But
So we'd have no choice, would we, D.S. Williams?
No choice at all, Gov. Straight by the book.
Look, you can't.
We can, Kelly, and you know we can.
This is ridiculous.
I agree, getting me up early in the morning for some nonsense like this.
The thing is, Kelly, D.I. Bourne and I, we're not stupid. And we've been doing this job a very long time. So, why don't you start telling us the truth?
I've told you.
Kelly, we've spoken to your mother and Sarah and her husband, and they've told us about the baby.
Then why are you asking me?
Because we need to hear it from you.
Why me?
Because you're the one who can help us, and you know why.
I need the loo.
Interview paused at 07:45 a.m. Interview continued at 07:58 a.m.
So, Kelly, why don't you start again?
About what?
Well, whatever you like before you fell asleep in front of the TV. What happened earlier in the week? Say, Monday.
Nothing really. Day like any other.
And what does that entail?
Well, I got up.
When?
Does that matter?
We'd like to have all the details, if you don't mind.
Around 5:30.
An early riser.
Well, I work in a grocer's from 7, and I've got to make sure
Make sure what?
that I'm ready and can get there on time.
How long do you work at the grocer's for?
From 7 to 4 with a lunch break in between.
Well, a long day.
Not really, and I like it. You get to chat to people.
You chat to a lot of people.
Well, you get some people who just like to pass the time of day, so I like to chat to them. It would be rude just to ignore them. I'm not a rude person.
No one is saying that, Kelly.
Did you chat to anyone different on Monday, Kelly?
How do you mean?
Well, anyone who didn't really want to just pass the time.
Someone who asked a lot of questions.
Like you are, you mean?
We're just trying to help you, Kelly.
I don't need any help. I was absolutely fine until that old bitch.
Language.
Well, she is. If she just left well alone then...
Then what, Kelly?
Well, I wouldn't be here, would I?
Kelly, did you notice anyone asking a lot of questions?
No.
Are you sure?
I said so, didn't I?
Kelly.
What about after you left the grocer's, Kelly?
How do you mean?
Well, when you left the grocer's, where did you go?
Went to my sister's.
Were you there for long?
Not really. Couldn't have been more than half an hour, maybe a bit longer.
Well, was it longer or wasn't it?
I don't know. Look, we had a coffee and chatted and
You what, Kelly?
Nothing. That was it. And I left.
So, where did you go after your sister's?
Duke of Wellington on Carmichael Road. I had a shift there from 6:30 until about 11:30.
Do you work there a lot?
Not really, but the odd shift helps here and there for the extra money.
For the little one?
I told you.
And we know you're lying.
No,
Kelly.
I'm not.
Kelly.
Kelly, your sister, told us that she has the little one while you work.
Ellie. Her name is Ellie.
Finally, the truth.
That you took Ellie to her house Monday morning and she stayed there all day.
Well, if you knew all that, why are you hassling me with all the questions?
Kelly, we just want to...
Help. I know, you said.
Then why all the lies?
You think you're the first coppers to come asking me questions? Well, I'll tell you like I told them. I don't know anything and I'm not saying anything.
Anything about what, Kelly?
You're the police. You figure it out.
Well, I think I could do with a fresh tea. Interview paused at 08:10 a.m. Wakey, wakey, Kelly.
Oh, I thought you weren't a morning person.
I'm a bit of a grump first thing, but a few cups of tea and I'm right as rain, aren't I, Sergeant?
Something like that, Gov. Made you a fresh cuppa.
You're not having any?
No, I've come off the stuff. I was a fiend for coffees. Used to go through 4 or 5 a day. So I gave it up.
What? Just like that?
Just like that.
Blimey.
Well, I figured it wasn't doing me no good, and yeah, it was hard.
You were a blooming nightmare some days.
But I knew it would be worth it in the end.
I know what you're doing.
I'm just telling you about me giving up my vice, as it were, Kelly.
Yeah, well, I'm not interested in your vices, okay?
Okay, Kelly.
Interview continued at 08:25 a.m. So, Kelly, you mentioned before about other policemen.
Did I?
Don't play games, Kelly.
I'm not.
You said you think you're the first coppers to come asking me questions.
So?
So, who were these other coppers?
I don't know.
You didn't take a name or ask to see ID?
It was ages ago.
Ages ago.
Yeah. They came asking about my dad.
Your father? Why?
Thought you coppers knew everything.
Kelly's dad was sent down a few years back.
8 years.
Oh, my apologies. 8 years back.
What happened?
You gonna say, Kelly?
Well, you're the man in the know.
Mickey Dustin.
Michael, not Mickey. Only his friends call him Mickey.
Oh, I believe he had many of those.
He was a good man.
A good man does not beat the living daylights out of his wife and daughters, nearly killing them in the process.
Allegedly.
Kelly, your mother and sister and you were covered in bruises, and your mother had to be taken into hospital.
And she told you a lot what happened.
No one believed she fell down the stairs, Kelly. That and your neighbours.
Bloody interfering busybodies.
I already told you about your language.
Look, I've told you what the coppers before wanted. What more do you want?
But why?
Why what?
Well, if your father went to prison 8 years ago, why would police be interested in you now?
Well,
A case like that would be long closed, and unless he was possibly going to be released, they wouldn't contact you at all, would they?
I don't...
But then, you know that already, don't you,
I
Kelly?
didn't...
So what did these coppers really want?
If they really were coppers, of course.
What are you on about now?
Well, you get all sorts being hired by all kinds to pose as coppers to track people down.
Oh, I don't know nothing about that.
Don't you?
No.
What happened to your face, Kelly?
What?
Your face. You've got fresh bruises. Nasty too.
Don't tell me, fell down a flight of stairs.
As a matter of fact...
Do you love Ellie?
What?
It's a simple enough question. Do you love your daughter?
Of course I do. What sort of stupid question is that?
Watch your tone, young lady.
Well, it's stupid.
It's all right, Gov. My only thought was, Kelly, that if you love your daughter, why are you protecting her from people who will hurt her, given half the chance?
What are you on about?
Do you know Michael Enns, Kelly?
What are you asking me about Mike for? I've not seen him in years.
6 years, isn't it? If Ellie is 5.
Don't.
Those coppers who came to talk to you weren't asking about your father, were they?
I said...
We know that, Kelly. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here like you've done a couple of rounds with Tyson.
I don't know.
Mike Entz was sent to prison just under 6 years ago, Kelly.
I know that.
For battering some poor girl so she nearly died.
I know.
He never knew that you were the one who turned him in, did he? Well?
I thought he didn't.
Why don't you start again? From the beginning.
What for? Not like you lot can do anything to him.
Kelly, we put him away once. We can do it again.
Yeah, that worked out really well for me last time.
What do you mean, Kelly?
What do you think?
I'd rather you told us.
When those men...
The policeman?
Yeah. When they came into the grocer's, I was at the back. Mr. Singh was on the till. He's a nice guy. Gives me some free fruit and veg sometimes to take home to Ellie.
What about Mr. Singh?
Well, when he was on the till, I was in the back and I heard them come in.
The policeman?
I didn't know they were policemen until I heard them talking to him.
Mr. Singh?
Yeah.
They spoke to Mr. Singh, but they didn't speak to you?
No, I stayed in the back. I didn't like the look of them, so I watched and I waited.
Why did you say you spoke to them?
They found me later.
Found you?
Yeah, are you going to let me finish?
Go ahead, Kelly.
Well, these two guys came to the counter and take out a picture and ask Mr. Singh if the girl in the picture works for him. He looks at it, looks at them, and then says no.
How do you know it was a girl in the picture?
Because the bigger of the two men said, "Does this girl work for you?"
What happened next, Kelly?
Well, the two men take a glance round the shop and then look back at Mr. Singh and ask him if he's sure about that. Deadly sure, he says. And then says if they have no other business, could they leave because he had work to do?
Oh, how did they take that?
Not well. They just stared at him. Felt like ages had gone by. And then they said if the girl came in, could he give them a call because they had some questions for her about a man of interest. That it was very important that they found me. Then they turned and knocked a stand over as the bigger one went to leave. Of course they were all smiles and apologies, saying what a dreadful accident it was. But then...
What, Kelly? What then?
They said it was uncanny how often they could happen. Accidents. As they said it, I could see them looking straight into Mr. Singh's face. It was then I knew.
Knew what, Kelly?
That Mike knew. That someone had told him it was me who turned him in.
That's not possible.
Well, how do you explain it then?
Ents could have put two and two together.
Mike couldn't put one and one together. And he didn't even know I was there.
What do you mean?
Well, that night that girl was beaten up. I followed Mike to the club where she worked. I knew he was playing away on me, but I needed to see it for myself. More fool me.
So what did you see?
Well, like I said then, I saw Mike bring that girl out through the fire escape. They started snogging, and then she said no. Something about it being too cold, and then Mike just lost it. I'd never seen him like that before.
Where did you see this from?
From the top of the alley by the club.
And are you sure Ents didn't see you?
He was too busy laying into that girl. And then he heard the sirens, so he took off.
Sirens?
What? You think I was just going to stand there and watch?
And once Mike had run off, then...
I waited for the police. I told them what I saw, and then I caught a taxi home. Mike didn't get home for over half an hour after I got back, so he was never suspicious.
I see.
So you see, it was only the two policemen who spoke to me, and the girl, of course.
Well, you see, that's the other reason we wanted to speak to you.
What do you mean?
The girl, Kelly. Amanda Weston.
What about her?
Did you ever speak to her?
Why would I speak to her?
Well, you saved her life.
Yeah, and look at all the trouble it got me into.
Well, she was hardly living the easy life.
Look, I'm sorry she got beaten up, but if you get involved with Mike...
You deserve all you get. Is that it?
Yeah, I suppose it is.
Is that why you're protecting him? You think you deserved what happened to you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Damn it! Are you going to keep protecting him until they fish you out of a skip?
Gov!
Ents is a goddamn animal who gets his kicks from beating up women and holding power over them, and you're just letting him do it. What kind of mother are you?
Don't you dare tell me I don't care about
Oh, yeah, mother of the year you are, letting a man who could kill you both and you and your daughter wander around happy as Larry to kill whenever the mood strikes him. You really don't...
Gov, enough! Interview paused at 8:45 a.m. Kelly, why don't you and I get some fresh air?
Damn it! Kelly, I'm so...
Oh, I love Ellie.
I know that. I shouldn't have...
Oh, it's all right. You're trying to help.
Why don't you sit down, Kelly?
I made you a fresh cup. It was getting cold.
And a chocolate biscuit as well. You must feel bad.
You still all right to continue, Kelly?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay. Interview continued at 09:05 a.m.
Kelly, I'd like to ask you about the policeman you saw in the grocer's.
What about them?
Did you see them again? Could you just verbalise for the tape?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I did.
And where was that?
Well, after my shift was over, Mr. Singh asked where I was going. And I said to my sisters, and he made a call. I didn't understand what he said on the phone, but a few moments later, his son was outside the back of the shop, and he drove me to my sisters.
Had he done anything like that before?
He'd not had anyone ask about me before.
So Mr. Singh's son,
Kareem.
he drove you to your sister's.
Yeah. I called her when I was a few moments away, 'cause he said to.
Mr. Singh?
Yeah. He told me I should stay there when I got there. I should have listened to him.
Yeah, now then. Kelly, did you go to work at the grocer's yesterday?
No.
Why not?
Once I got to my sister's, Mr. Singh called me. Told me to take a few days off. Said he had some family he was planning to visit up north, and he'd pay me for the days the shop was closed.
That was very generous of him.
Yeah. Did something happen to Mr. Singh?
Well, have a look at these photographs, Kelly. So, Mr. Singh's shop was petrol bombed that evening, straight through the front window.
Oh my God! Is he all right? His family?
Mr. Singh was admitted to hospital with some burns. Lucky for him, he was just leaving the area of the shop when it happened. So there were only a few burns to his back.
Oh my God! This is my fault. I shouldn't have.
Kelly, you listen to me. This was not your fault.
So, when you left your sister's, where did you go?
I went straight to the pub from there. I didn't want to risk going home then.
But you went into work.
It was the safest place for me.
How do you mean, Kelly?
Blimey, you must be new.
The Duke of Wellington pub is run by Jack Kelly.
The arms dealer, Jack Kelly.
Alleged arms dealer. Nothing was ever proven.
Not without our trying.
How on earth did you get involved with him?
He knew my mother before she moved to England. When I needed work, he was happy to help.
So you travelled into work. Did you notice anyone following you?
No, I didn't see anyone on the way or when I got there.
Kelly,
What?
you didn't mention what happened at the grocer's to Jack, did you?
Oh, I didn't have to.
How do you mean?
He already knew. He said some coppers had been in asking for me earlier that evening.
And what did he say?
Jack's not daft. He said something about them didn't feel right, so he told them he'd no idea what they were talking about and to sling their hook.
I bet that went well.
So, did they leave?
That's what Jack said. He told me I should lay low for a while. He gave me some cash, told me to get myself home.
And that's what you did?
No, not straight away. I went into Jack's office to call my sister and asked her if she could keep Ellie for a few more days. Told her I'd taken on some extra shifts. She knew I needed the money and I think she thought it was good.
Good?
That I was turning myself around, thinking about Ellie and sorting things so we could have a life together.
So no one had paid your sister a visit then?
No, she and I hadn't been on speaking terms long, and I thought if I could just keep Ellie out of his way then.
You mean Ence's way?
Yeah, I knew that if he found her, I'd never see her again.
I take it Ence doesn't know about being a father.
After he was arrested, I went to my sister and she helped me hide out for a bit until his trial and sentencing. Then I thought I could finally start piecing my life back together.
It wasn't just your sister you phoned though, was it, Kelly?
I wanted to make sure she was okay. I wanted to warn her.
Who, Kelly?
Oh, don't piss her.
Language!
You know who.
We need to hear it from you, Kelly.
Amanda, all right? I called Amanda Weston.
And what happened?
Well, she'd give me a mobile number when we met after Mike's trial. She said she wanted to thank me for saving her life, so we went for a coffee.
This girl you never saw.
Look, I never asked her to contact me, you know, but she...
She what, Kelly?
Well, she was so frail and scared. Even after Mike went to prison, she was jumping at her own shadow. I wanted to help her.
Like you did the other night?
Yeah. She had no idea Mike was even out. She started to panic, but I told her it was going to be okay. I told her everything was going to be okay.
So, what happened when you called her?
I told her to come to the pub, I knew Jack would help her, but she'd never get in a car with someone she didn't know, and Jack would never let me go out there by myself. She wasn't even that far. 5 minutes, maybe. I heard her gather her things and phone a taxi off the landline. She kept talking to me, telling me what she was doing as she did it.
She wanted to keep hearing a friendly voice.
Well, wouldn't you?
So she got into a taxi. What then?
I don't know.
Yes, you do, Kelly. She was on the phone to you.
Why are you making me go through this?
Because Amanda Weston is dead and you may be the only person who heard it.
What?
Her taxi was attacked as it was leaving her apartment building.
The driver lost consciousness. When he came round, Amanda was gone.
I told her it would be okay.
Kelly, there's nothing you could have done to save her.
You don't know that. If she'd stayed in her flat, she could have been safe. The building had a security door and...
They would have found their way in, Kelly. You know they would.
Bastard!
You know who was there, don't you?
So do you.
Yeah, my instinct isn't enough to go out and arrest him.
Well, what pissing use are you?
Kelly, sit down.
No, I'm done with this. You either charge me or I am going home.
Kelly.
I told her it was going to be okay. She trusted me and that bastard killed her.
Kelly, you don't...
Michael Richard Enns was there when they took that poor girl from the taxi. He laughed when she struggled and he picked up her phone. He just breathed down the phone for a few moments and then started laughing. I couldn't take it, so I just hung up.
You're certain you heard him?
I'd recognise his voice anywhere.
Gov, maybe we should...
Of course. Interview paused at 09:30 a.m.
How much longer are you going to keep me here?
Just a few more details to go over, Kelly, if that's all right.
Oh, it's not like I have a choice.
Interview continued at 09:45 a.m. So, Kelly, this incident with Amanda...
Murder.
What?
It wasn't an incident. They murdered her.
Once you'd finished your call with Amanda, where did you go?
I just went home.
Weren't you concerned he'd find you?
Amanda didn't know my home address. There was no way he could find me.
So, what happened?
How do you mean?
Come on, Kelly. You didn't get those bruises from nowhere.
Well, I guess one of his boys must have been waiting for me.
You guess.
Well, what else could it be?
What time did you leave the pub?
It wasn't too late. Maybe 9?
I thought Jack told you to go.
Well, after Amanda, I didn't feel I could face going home.
So when you left the pub, you walked straight home?
No, I took a few changes of direction. Took a taxi a short distance at one point.
You could feel someone was following you?
After Amanda, I wasn't leaving anything to chance.
So then what happened?
He pushed in behind me when I opened the flat door. I don't remember much after that. I just remember throwing my arms and legs and things flew across the room. I must have blacked out for a moment because next thing I knew, I was on the floor. He was gone and I could hear sirens.
Did you get a clear look at him?
Not really. Between the scuffle and him being behind me, it was just glimpses.
Oh, glimpses is better than nothing.
Brown hair, taller than me by maybe a foot. Sorry, I'm not being much help.
You've done brilliantly, Kelly.
Is there anything else?
Oh, we may need to talk to you again once we find Ents.
Have you got anyone you can stay with?
Yeah, I'll be fine. I just want to see Ellie.
Of course. We'll get someone to take you there.
Thanks.
Kelly, thank you. Interview terminated 10:05 a.m.
Yeah, okay. I'll tell him.
What now?
They found him, Gov.
Ent?
Yep.
Where?
His old flat on the New Bank Road.
Right.
He'd been shot. Point blank range to the gut.
Oh, painful way to die still. I'll not lose much sleep.
I doubt many will, Gov.
Do they know when?
Preliminary puts it between 8 and 10. No weapon was found.
No, of course, that will be too easy.
Jackson Mason are holding the scene until we get there.
Has someone called Kelly to let her know?
Well, a uniform did go round to her sister, Gov.
But
She wasn't there.
they out?
Her sister was there, Gov. And after a bit of pressure,
Spit it out, Williams.
her sister confessed that Kelly left about 15 minutes after we dropped her off.
The baby?
Still with her arm. Kelly told her sister she needed space.
Not unusual after what she's been through.
Well, that's what I thought of first.
What are you getting at, Williams?
Well, after I'd spoken to the uniform, I paid a visit to the Duke of Wellington and spoke to Mr. Kelly.
And what did Jack say?
That Kelly left the pub around 7 after a very heated phone call in the office.
She spoke to Ents.
He couldn't make out much of the conversation, but when he went back into his office about 15 minutes later, Kelly was gone, along with his handgun and £1,000 out of the safe.
Jesus!
She must have spoken to Ents and convinced him to meet her.
But why? She must have known we'd get the whole story eventually.
In her eyes, Gov, we failed her once, and my guess is she's not taking any more chances.
Damn it! How could we not see it?
She was his victim, sir. She came in, battered and bruised. There was no reason to think...
She was a cold-blooded killer?
There's already been uniforms dispatched to train stations, airports and ferry terminals. We'll find her, sir.
I'll see you down at reception. I just need to put these away.
Right, Gov.
Bastard.
You have been listening to Interview Terminated by Rachel Feeney Williams, a Bartholomew Players production. D.I. Bourne was played by John Grant Casey. D.S. Williams was played by Sally Firth. Kelly was played by Denise Santilli. Sound effects were Gareth Hammond, and the editing was done by Steve Ashcroft.